The worthless human, the auction hall was huge, filled with strange creatures from all over the galaxy. Some had long necks, some had scales, and some had eyes that glowed in the dark. Every corner of the hall was crowded with aliens, all looking for slaves. The air smelled of oil, metal, and nervous fear. Loud voices shouted bids. Hammers hit podiums. Screams and cries echoed as beings were sold, one by one. Dot in the middle of the chaos. A small, thin human stood alone. He was different from everyone else. His skin was pale, his hair soft and brown, and his eyes wide with fear. He wore rags that barely covered him. Around him, the aliens looked down, whispered, and laughed. Worthless, one of the buyers sneered. A human? Why would anyone want this weak creature? Even the ants of my planet are stronger than this one, another said, poking him with a clawed finger. The human tried to shrink back, but there was nowhere to hide. He knew he was the last one left, the one no one wanted. Every other slave had been sold strong aliens, skilled warriors, smart creatures. Everyone except him. The auctioneer, a tall being with 6 arms, banged his gavel. And now, the last slave. One human, no skills, no strength, worthless. Who will take him? The crowd laughed. Some threw coins at him like he was garbage. The human felt panic rising in his chest. He wanted to run, but the hall was sealed. His heart pounded so loudly he thought the aliens could hear it. Then, a shadow moved at the far end of the hall. A tall figure, cloaked in dark robes, stepped forward. The crowd went quiet. This alien was different, calm, strong, not like the others. Its eyes were sharp, almost intelligent, and it studied the human carefully. I will buy him, the alien said, in a voice that made the entire hall freeze. What? The auctioneer's 6 arms shook. This human? Are you serious? Yes, the alien said simply. No one dared argue. The crowd murmured, shocked. Aliens whispered to each other. Why would anyone buy him? He is worthless. The human's knees shook. He had never imagined someone would actually want him. Fear mixed with a strange hope. Could it be possible that he was not worthless? The auctioneer slammed the gavel. Sold. To the mysterious buyer, he is yours. A guard led the human to the buyer. The crowd watched in silence as the human's life changed in a moment. The alien did not say a word. It looked at him, head tilted slightly, as if trying to see inside his mind. Don't be afraid, the alien finally said. You will be useful. If you are willing to learn, the human swallowed hard. He didn't understand what the alien meant, but he nodded. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a spark of courage. Maybe, just maybe, he could survive Dot as they left the hall. The human looked back. The chaos, the laughter, the smell of fear, it all faded behind him. A new world awaited, one that was strange, dangerous, and unknown. He had no idea what challenges were coming. But he could feel that this was the start of something bigger than himself. And somewhere, in the shadows of the hall, other aliens whispered, unsure of what they had just witnessed. They didn't know it yet, but the human they had called worthless might change everything. The auction hall was emptying, but the human's story was just beginning. Unexpected journey. The human's heart was still pounding as he followed the tall, cloaked alien through the winding corridors of the spaceship. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and strange humming machines lined every hallway. He had never seen anything like it. The floor seemed alive, pulsing slightly under his feet, and panels flickered with symbols he could not understand. This ship. It's huge, he whispered, more to himself than to the alien. Yes, the alien replied calmly, its deep voice echoing slightly in the corridor. And it is yours to survive in. The human blinked. Mine? The alien turned, and for a moment, its piercing eyes seemed to look straight into his mind. You will learn. If you are capable, you will survive. If not, you will not last long. The words sent a shiver down his spine. He had no idea what they meant, but he could feel the truth in them. The alien led him to a room filled with strange devices, floating orbs, glowing tools and walls that seemed to shift as if alive. Other aliens were there too, observing quietly, but none spoke. The human felt their eyes on him. He tried to shrink back, but the alien gestured. Come forward. Do not fear. You will learn? He stepped closer, unsure what he was supposed to do. Then the alien picked up a small cube and handed it to him. The human's fingers trembled. The cube shifted and changed shape under his touch, almost as if it were alive. Focus, the alien said. Do not think of what you cannot do. Only think of what must be done. The human closed his eyes and concentrated. He felt the cube pulse under his fingers. Slowly, it responded. The other aliens gasped softly, some exchanging quiet whispers. No human had ever done this before. You see, the alien said, humans are underestimated. Weak, unremarkable, but adaptable, clever, brave, and often unpredictable. The human opened his eyes, feeling a spark of something he had never felt before, confidence. For the first time, he wondered if he really might be special. The alien led him back to the corridor. Now you will see the world beyond this ship. You must understand it, for it will shape your future. The human followed, his eyes wide as the ship's doors opened. Outside, stars stretched endlessly in every direction. Planets, moons, and glowing nebulae drifted past like paintings in motion. The human could barely breathe. He had never imagined that space could be so vast, so beautiful, and so dangerous. The alien gestured toward a large viewing window. We traveled to a war-torn sector, a place where only the strong, clever, and sometimes lucky survive. There, you will understand why you were chosen. The human swallowed hard. He had no weapons, no skills, no experience. Yet something in the alien's voice told him that he could survive. That maybe he could thrive. Hours passed as the ship glided through the stars. The alien did not speak much, but the human noticed small things, how the crew moved, how they communicated without words, and how the alien's presence commanded respect. Every glance, every movement seemed to carry purpose. Late in the ship's artificial night, the human could not sleep. He leaned against the wall and whispered to himself, "Why me? Why not another?" A shadow moved beside him. The alien's hooded head tilted slightly. Because you were left behind. The others were chosen by strength, skill, or beauty. You were overlooked. But that is why you are perfect. The human stared. Perfect? The alien's gaze was calm, almost cold, yet not unkind. Perfect because no one expected anything from you. And that is the advantage humans always have. The human felt a mixture of fear and hope. He did not understand the alien's words fully, but he felt their weight. Somewhere deep inside, a fire began to burn. A small, stubborn spark of courage and determination. The ship continued to glide silently through space. Outside, the stars shone like diamonds, and the human realized that his journey had only just begun. Whatever awaited him in the war-torn sector, he would face it. Because for the first time in his life, he was not worthless. And in the quiet hum of the alien ship, a new story was unfolding, a story that could change everything. Hidden potential. A human awoke to the soft hum of the alien ship. Light filtered through the curved walls, casting strange patterns on the floor. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. Last night's revelation still lingered in his mind. The alien had chosen him, a human, and claimed he had potential. Yet, he still felt small, weak, and uncertain. The ship's corridors were quiet. Other aliens moved with silent precision, their long limbs and sharp eyes observing him without a word. Every glance made him feel like a child under scrutiny. But the human had learned one thing already. Watching quietly could teach more than rushing blindly. Today, you will begin, the alien said suddenly, appearing beside him. A test. A task. Nothing impossible, but enough to see who you really are. The human's stomach nodded. He had no idea what the task would be, but he nodded. The alien handed him a small device, glowing faintly. It looked like a cube, but more complex than yesterday's. This is a control unit. It can operate the ship's miter systems, the alien explained. No human has ever done this before. Many will fail. Will you? The human held the device, feeling its weight. It pulsed slightly as if alive. He remembered the alien's words, focus on what must be done. Taking a deep breath, he pressed a button. The cube responded immediately. A panel on the wall opened, showing a holographic map of the ship. Other aliens gasped softly. Interesting, one whispered. Humans, unpredictable. The human's confidence grew slightly. He did not understand how he was doing it, only that he could. Step by step, he manipulated the controls. Lights blinked, doors moved, and the ship responded exactly as he commanded. The other aliens watched in awe, silent admiration replacing their initial doubt. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed. A system in the lower decks had failed pipes leaking, machines sparking. Panic rose in the human's chest. The alien's eyes met his. Now, the alien said simply. Prove yourself. The human ran down the corridors, heart pounding. He had never fixed machines before, never dealt with alien technology. But instinct guided him. He pressed buttons, turned valves, and adjusted levers. Sparks flew dangerously close, but he did not stop. The ship groaned and shuddered, yet slowly the system stabilized. The alien and the crew arrived moments later. The ship was safe. The human was breathing heavily, covered in grime, but alive. The other aliens looked at him with new respect, something they had never shown a human before. You see? The alien said, his voice calm but sharp. You are not weak. You are not worthless. You are capable. The human swallowed hard. I didn't know I could do that. That is your hidden potential, the alien replied. Humans have a way of surviving where others fail. They adapt, they think differently, they find solutions when logic alone would not help. That is why you were chosen. The human looked around. For the first time, he felt like he belonged, like he had a purpose beyond mere survival. The other aliens began to nod subtly, acknowledging his courage and skill. Some whispered among themselves, intrigued by what a human could accomplish. Later, the human sat quietly, watching the stars through the ship's window. The vast galaxy stretched endlessly before him, filled with dangers and wonders he could barely imagine. But now, for the first time, he felt ready. He was learning. He was growing. And most importantly, he was no longer the worthless human everyone had laughed at. A shadow fell across his thoughts. The alien's calm voice again. This is only the beginning. There are greater challenges ahead. A test not just of skill, but of courage, loyalty, and heart. If you can survive those, you may prove what humans are truly capable of. The human's eyes gleamed with determination. He did not know what awaited him, but he understood one thing. He had a gift. Something the galaxy had never seen before in a human. And somewhere deep inside, he realized the adventure had just begun. His story, once thought to be insignificant, was starting to change. The ship hummed softly as it glided through the endless stars. And the human, once called worthless, was beginning to discover his true power, hidden potential. Human woke to the soft hum of the ship's engines and the faint glow of blue lights along the walls. Everything was still, almost too still. He had spent the night staring at the ceiling, thinking about the auction hall, the cruel laughs, and the mysterious alien who had chosen him when everyone else had ignored him. He had been called worthless. And yet here he was, alive, aboard a ship that felt more like a moving city than anything he had ever known. The corridor slid open before him, revealing a large chamber filled with strange machinery and glowing consoles. Aliens of every shape and size moved around the room silently, their eyes flicking toward him. Some paused and whispered, their voices filled with curiosity rather than mockery. He felt their gaze heavy and judgmental, but also expectant. You will begin your training today, said the cloaked alien, stepping out of the shadows. Its voice was calm, deliberate, with an edge that made the human's stomach tighten. You have survived the auction, but survival is only the first step. The next step is Potential. The human blinked. Potential? He asked. Yes, the alien said. Humans are overlooked, underestimated. Weak in the eyes of others, but adaptable, unpredictable, capable of surprising the galaxy when pushed. That is why you remain while the others were sold. The human nodded slowly, unsure if he fully understood. But the alien handed him a small device, a cube that shimmered with faint light. It seemed to pulse under his touch, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. This is your first task, the alien explained. Operate it. Control it. Learn it. If you succeed, you begin to understand yourself. The human stared at the cube, then at the alien, and then back at the alien crew who watched him silently. He took a deep breath and pressed a button. The cube shifted immediately, forming a holographic projection of the ship's corridors and control systems. He hesitated. His fingers trembled. He had never done anything like this. Slowly, he experimented pressing buttons, adjusting panels, touching symbols. The cube responded, moving systems, opening doors, adjusting lights. The crew whispered among themselves. Some shook their heads in disbelief. A human. Controlling the ship? Hours passed. The human learned to manipulate the device with careful focus. And then, suddenly alarms blared. Red lights flashed, and a section of the ship's life support system began failing. Steam hissed from ruptured pipes. Sparks flew dangerously close to the floor. The alien's sharp gaze fell on him. Now, it said, show your potential. The human's heart raced. He ran through the corridors, following the holographic map projected from the cube. He turned valves, redirected energy flows, and managed the failing system with instinct and creativity. Sweat dripped down his forehead. Sparks ignited dangerously near his hand. But he pressed forward. The alien and its crew arrived just as the final panel stabilized. The system hummed smoothly once more. The human stood, panting, grime on his face, staring at the alien. The chamber was silent except for the soft hum of the engines. You see? The alien said, calm and deliberate. You are not weak. You are capable, clever, adaptable. That is human potential. The human felt a flicker of pride mixed with disbelief. He had done something extraordinary, and yet he barely understood how. The other aliens exchanged quiet murmurs, their previous scorn replaced by cautious respect. Later, the human sat by a large viewing window, staring out at the endless stars. He felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but for the first time, he felt a spark of confidence. Perhaps he really could be more than worthless. The alien's voice came softly from behind him. This is only the beginning. Greater challenges lie ahead. Courage, loyalty, and heart will be tested. And if you survive, you may discover what humans are truly capable of. The human turned his eyes to the stars, determination hardening in his chest. He was ready to face whatever came next. Because, for the first time in his life, he believed he could change more than just his own fate. And somewhere deep within the hum of the ship, a story was beginning that would shake the galaxy, and a human, once called worthless, was at its center. First battle. The human had never imagined war until now. The spaceship glided silently through a star cluster, but the quiet was deceptive. Every alien aboard was tense, their eyes scanning the dark space outside for threats. The cloaked alien, his master, stood at the command console, calm and focused. Yet there was a sharpness in his gaze that told the human this mission would test him. Enemy ships detected, the alien said, voice low but steady. They are fast, aggressive, and merciless. You will observe, learn, and act if necessary. The human's heart hammered. His hands shook as he gripped the edge of the console. I can do something? He asked. Yes, the alien replied. Or you will die. Choice is yours. Suddenly, red lights flashed, and warning sirens screamed through the ship. Outside the viewing window, sleek enemy fighters darted like swarms of predatory insects. Their weapons glowed, ready to tear through the hull. The human's stomach sank. He had never been in a fight. He had never even held a weapon meant to kill. Follow my instructions, the alien said calmly. And think? The human nodded, trying to steady his breathing. He observed the consoles, the holographic displays, and the movement of the enemy ships. The other aliens moved with precision, firing weapons, redirecting power, and maneuvering the ship with deadly skill. Then, an enemy fighter slipped past the defenses, heading straight for the human side of the ship. Panic surged, but the alien's gaze met his. Do something, instinct took over. The human remembered the lessons from the cube, the focus, the observation, the calm amidst chaos. He pressed buttons, adjusting shields and redirecting energy to the exposed section. Sparks flew across the console, alarms blared louder, but the shield held just in time. The enemy fighter's blast bounced off harmlessly. The other aliens turned, surprised. Whispers ran through the crew. The human... He saved the section. Good, the alien said, voice calm, yet there was a hint of approval. Now, anticipate their next move. The battle raged for what felt like hours. The human watched the enemy patterns, noticing a rhythm to their attacks. Slowly, he began to predict where they would strike next. He warned the crew, adjusted the ship's trajectory, and even suggested a counterattack that targeted the enemy's weak points. To his own astonishment, it worked. Enemy ships faltered, their attacks less coordinated, giving the aliens' fleet a chance to strike back. The human felt adrenaline surge. He was no longer merely a passenger. He was part of the fight, making decisions that could change the outcome. At one point, an enemy fighter broke through the perimeter and headed straight for the human station. He could have panicked, but he didn't. He remembered the alien's words. Humans are unpredictable. That is your advantage. Using quick thinking, he activated an emergency pulse from the console. The fighter's engines overloaded and it exploded in a flash of light. The crew stared in shock. Even the alien master raised an eyebrow, impressed. The battle finally ended. The enemy ships retreated, leaving the fleet victorious, but the tension lingered. The human sank to the floor, exhausted, heart pounding and covered in grime. He had survived. He had acted. And for the first time, he realized he had a role that mattered. The alien approached him, hand resting lightly on the human's shoulder. You are learning quickly, he said. Other humans might have frozen or fled, but you acted. You observed. You adapted. That is why you're still here.